from planet Earth to Mars just by thing. That'd be crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy way to
Like, humanity needs this technology. Nobody's gonna want to like bust out their phone and have to like type with their thumbs. You could use it as a second display. I know my brother does today. He has the smart glasses, uses them as a secondary display. What we do is we are the very first AI product to train on real human neurons alongside GPU compute. We've pushed up over 200 words per minute. My ultimate vision for this technology is to create something that's more accessible than less accessible.
The interview you're about to listen may change completely how you think about AI, because Garrett is one of the first person that managed to take our brain, the neuron, how it works, and merge it with LLMs, the AI models. And I was a bit skeptic at the beginning before starting to talk with him and before having him showing me a live demo. But then after this interview, it really opened ports on my mind to think about, like, we are about to see another drastic change that not many people see. So if you want to be early on something and understand something that not many people understand yet, I think this interview might be really valuable. So the best thing I would do is listen it from the beginning to the end. Do not hesitate to ask questions and start the debate in the comments. But also from that, you will know if you think this is the next big thing or you think it's just a fugazi. I'm not here to make the decision for you. I'm just here to bring you the conversation, and let's get in. So welcome on the podcast, Garrett. You are the founder of BioLLM, a project in crypto that actually has a utility. So could you explain to us what is a BioLLM doing and why you're doing it?
Yeah, absolutely. So to kind of start from the top here, what we do is we are the very first AI product to train on real human neurons using the Cortical Labs CL1 platform. And the reason we do this is, it's real human neurons alongside GPU compute. And what we use the neurons for is to build a digital twin of the human brain. And then that lives alongside a transformer, a large language model. And the idea is that we could predict what the brain's intent is going to be over on the digital twin. And then we can formulate a response, whether these are suggested prompts, basically completions of the next word, or, the entire paragraph. And the user is able to use a device like this. This is a consumer EEG device called Neurocity Crown. And they're able to just do a small gesture, raising their eyebrows. And what it essentially does is it creates a identifiable electrical storm in the brain, kind of like just like clicking a mouse. And you're able to select out of a carousel of prompts that the AI is generating, based on your activity, and passively monitoring the brain activity. Select out of the carousel, okay, yeah, that's what I want, that's the next word, or that's the next phrase I want to say. And I get a lot of questions here because people wonder, they're like, wow, okay, this is really cool. Is this for somebody with like a spinal cord injury? Is it for somebody who's disabled? No, that's actually not the case here. The goal is to allow faster than keyboard typing, faster than dictation. It's the absolute fastest form of input that in some of our test cases, we've pushed up over 200 words per minute, thanks to the AI being able to look at the context of the conversation and predict your intent, so what might the next completion be? And if it isn't quite right, be able to keep asking, okay, next word, next word, next word, and then maybe a completion.
So how does it work exactly? Like, you get this on you. Can you give us a demo right now?
Yeah, not necessarily prepared, but I can just pull it up, because that's always the best way to do things. So, okay, we're on the website, and this is actually the first demo ever of the Spark product, and we've got some really cool stuff coming with this. I haven't had the chance to demo it in public yet, to just show people, hey, that we actually did this and pulled it off. But, you look at this, and this is, this headset. These have been around for probably the better part of a decade, if not more. And, it's been a challenge to like figure out how to use them, So if I go here and I click Spark, I'm logged in, I'm authenticated with my Neurocity account, and um, as it warms up here, it starts to give some suggestions here. And if I just don't move, these ones, we'll try to just type out a sentence because it got something. But what is, what would success actually? And that's, we'll go for a full completion here because it's going to start suggesting those. But yeah, something like that. I'm just, it's like hands-free, more, just move this thing up on my thing, than just hitting, I need to feel that the work has a deeper purpose, something like that. And, these are just suggestions coming up that I'm, the hands-free, I am able to select it by raising my eyebrows like that. And the idea is that the LLM, you could use different models for this as well, but, being able to input the text like that, and it kind of cycles around until it's kind of tough when I'm, talking as well, because it will get that. But
So like you could type a prompt now without talking, without doing anything.
yeah, so it's tough when
Don't
I
talk, don't talk, don't talk through it. Like just like let's see. You explain after what you want to do, okay?
Okay.
What you need.
Yeah, it's something like that. I mean, and it's just like, being able to kind of go through there. Some of it is the quality of the model and everything. This is what I've got up right now. But,
Okay.
that's it's
So like
next.
how
And then,
like if you don't like you need to raise your eyebrows every time to select a word, right?
eyebrows, like here's another one. No, the eyebrows are kind of the best, but it's got like the good connection or not, but that's one of the easiest, but a tooth clench works as well. Like, but I have it more calibrated for the eyebrows because it's clenching your teeth all the time does not feel good. But that's one
Yeah.
right there. The smell I need is the one that brings back the best memories. And some of this, I mean, you have to realize there is kind of like the quality of the model. This is like, hey, a very, very new thing. But see, that's not even really a word, but but yeah, I mean, this is more or less. I'm trying to get it to do like something really good here for us. I need some. Let's go for. I need D. I B. Something like that. It's like it really is. The hands-free typing experience here. The goal is as we're able to like hook up the different models and whatnot, being able to improve, sharpen the experience. I mean, obviously, it's not seeming to be putting anything in right now, but sometimes the jaw movements are a little bit finicky.
So thanks for the demo. If you want actually to get part of the crypto market or the stock market, you should try CoinW because CoinW lets you trade without any KYC. You can have the futures on all the stock market, and God knows so many things happening there. And also you have all the crypto market all in one place with some great function of copy trading. You can copy trade directly the top traders and have the same returns as them. Plus, if you use the code in the description of this podcast, you will get insane bonus. When I'm saying that, we are talking about more than 5 figures in bonus depending of your trading style. So you should definitely try it. I've been building some trading bots with it because they have a great API key and AI that can just trade for you. Check it out. Head to CoinW with the code HANDSUP. Like now my question would be like, why would someone use this process instead of just like talking to generate their prompt?
Well, that's a really good question, and it actually kind of just comes down to somebody taking the leap, because right now today it's like obviously there's not a perfect product, that's not what it is. But the real thing here, and this is what people saw me really early on. It's like I'm 3 months into this, and it's like, well, I figured out how to do something with it. I mean, I figured out kind of the direction and trajectory we want to go, and demoed that obviously in a way, here, because this was something that hey, put some time into putting out there. But the reason is it's simply like hey, there was a point where nobody knew how to type on a keyboard, period. Like probably less than 75 years ago. I would say 75 years ago, nobody was typing even on a keyboard. Probably
Yeah.
most people didn't know how to type anything. They just write it. They'd be like, why would I want to type? I just write it down. Um, and get frustrated and not want to type anything. But the goal is hey, today most people can type 37 words per minute on a phone, and then they can type. I think the average person is about 60 on a keyboard, and the world record for touch typing is like 217 words per minute, and it's like there's a point where if we can really understand what's going on in the mind, what's going on deep in the mind, we can make non-invasive brain computer interface devices like this one, and probably a more advanced version of this one. We can make them work better, so you've actually, and most people in the world have seen the Neuralink demos, and a lot of that is, that is for people that are disabled, and it's pretty much strictly going to remain a medical product for the future, from what I can see and from what I've heard. But the real big thing that, comes down the road is like, well, if you could get that type of performance with having, if you can see past, kind of look beyond, the skull, and, not have to rely on an invasive device, and be able to type faster than you ever could with your voice, faster than you ever could with your fingers. And where is that the most meaningful? It's meaningful in devices like Apple Vision Pro. It's meaningful in as the smart glasses start to slim down and there's a display in the glasses. I mean, nobody's gonna want to like bust out their phone and have to like type with their thumbs, and nobody's
Yeah.
gonna want to voice dictate everything into that interface. So if glasses are ever gonna become like the iPhone of mobile devices, the next iPhone, you really need this technology to work, because if you sit and you have you could use it as a second display. I know my brother does
Mm.
today. He has the smart glasses, uses them as a secondary display. But if we never look within and we never kind of figure out, okay, what's going on in the brain, how do we make probably not the best sensors in the world. I mean, that is like an eight electrode EEG. So it's like, you don't have the best signal in the world, but at the same time, I believe you could probably still do something really meaningful with it. Where that ends up, happening, will it be specifically on the current generation of hardware for this stuff? Hard to say, but in the next couple of years, it's like, well, there's all sorts of different brands for almost anything you can conceive of, from computers to smartphones to even smart glasses now. And as that hardware starts to adapt, there's going to be great options to do something, that's really, really meaningful in the realm of typing faster than you ever could, just thinking of a prompt and having an AI complete it. Um, so that's the trajectory there.
Yeah, so it would be the end game would be I just think of what I want to write, and it just write it for me. Is that possible with this
That's
idea? No. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So, here and now, it's you know, what we're doing is, we're training off these neurons to try to understand the brain better. We have something kind of, like we're able to put in, obviously enter sentences, prompts, to some degree. It's probably not the degree of accuracy that any end user would like, but the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. I mean, there was a point where computers didn't have there was no mouse. It was, most computers that came out in the 70s were just keyboard and screen.
Yeah.
There was no, you couldn't really do anything with it. And everybody at that point in time, the kind of thing that got said all the time was, oh, like, why wouldn't I just type it, on a typewriter? That's stupid. Or I want to write it. Like, I'll just use a typewriter. I'll write it. So I think even when cars came out, it was, the whole thing was like, oh, just like, I want a horse, like a horse is cheaper or something. So there's always kind of that, thankfully we're living in a very tech forward time where there's always something new. So these types of things, it's usually just like a couple of years before they take and, become very prominent. But where it sits today, it's like, you can kind of see the glimmer of like what is going to be possible and probably going to improve exponentially given 2, 3, 4 years.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. Is there any other project that are working on that? A
With
similar thing?
this, I'm trying to. There's one. I don't know the name off the top of my head, but it's a beanie. They're claiming kind of a similar. That's the similar take is that you're this beanie, and you're going to be able to type 200 words a minute, and hands free. Doesn't require typing. Doesn't require your thumbs. Nothing. And they're saying end of the year, and I'm curious because it's like, hey, the input, if they figure that out, but with non-invasive, it's difficult, but I don't believe it's impossible. And I think that the linchpin, kind of in my belief, is that you have to get down to the finest level, especially when you're training, an AI product, because another competing product is Google Mogen. If you look up Google Mogen, their approach is, they're looking to simulate the human brain. That's great. They're kind of moving in the direction of people make MRI, fMRI, and the magnetic resonance imaging, and that they're getting and they're actually able to see quite a bit. You can see down to the structure of the neuron. I don't substitute for actually, having the wetware and yep, this is a great piece for people to look at. But this project, I think it's a great project because it's out of Google research, so it's a very, very well funded research project from Google. And it's the only thing that I can think of that's even remotely similar to kind of our approach. And they've worked on this for a number of years, but the only thing that's not being used here is it's purely the structure of the neurons, and it's not necessarily, okay, what would it look like if you could push the neurons and feel the pull? And again, this is kind of like where the public's interest was originally caught with BioLLM. Like none of the EEG thing came afterwards. I had planned this for a long time, thought about this type of thing, but the initial interest came where we were the first AI company to train on actual wetware and figure that out.
What is where?
So in a sense, what that is it's essentially when neurons, so human neurons are grown using stem cells. So they will grow the neurons in a little petri dish, and they grow them on what's called a multi-electrode array. So there's 59 electrodes, 59 channels, and you can either push electricity in or read out the feedback. And what that basically it allows a different dynamic because you're looking at there's about 800,000 neurons on those chips, and the thing there is when you have 800,000 neurons on a chip and only 59 electrodes, you have to somewhat be able to approximate what might be going on in a certain region based on the activity, and there is some guesswork to be had there, but you find that even on, the 59 electrodes, you're still able to get these network behaviors over time. And, that's what's called the free energy principle is they want to move from unpredictable to more predictable behavior. And what the difference is here between this and, traditional compute is traditional compute, when they go and train a large language model, yeah, I mean, you're using, gigawatts of electricity, insane amounts of electricity to run the GPUs. You are also, you're in a situation where, trying to think of the best way to explain it. The efficiency of the learning, you might take days to teach, a machine learning model, a task. It could take days, but neurons evolved to, solve problems, so it's like in human beings because, the neurons that we use, the iPSC cultures are derived from cortical human neurons, so they in the neocortex. And, what you find with that is like, you can accomplish a task on about it's less electricity than a light bulb uses. So under 20 watts. And you'll
Mm.
get the same outcome. You'll get learning that does happen, and it can, classify data. It can do small tasks at a much quicker and much lower cost in the electricity realm than the GPU. So
Interesting. And then how did you get into this? This seems so esoteric to me.
yeah, so it was basically curiosity. I was just kind of over the years, I had a lot of curiosity about, okay, how do we make that leap to making smart glasses usable? Because that was something it's been discussed for probably 15 years or more. And I was like really thinking about this, and I'm like, well, okay, like if you have smart glasses and you have a display in the glasses, what do? Are you gonna always go like this and be scrolling like this all day? And it's the next natural progression in electronics and consumer electronics. But there's no way you're gonna do it unless, I know another device, and this is a really cool one. It's actually a pair of headphones that they have the EEG built in, and it's mainly for meditation. I don't think it's not quite.
How does it help with meditation?
Well, that's actually it's funny, but all these devices are designed for is basically is meditation because you could put the device on, sit down, meditate, listen to some music, and then go back into your session and look at like how calm was I, how focused was I, was I disrupted, and it's kind of like you can sink into a really mindful meditation, but then go back and catalog the data afterward.
Okay.
Historically, for a while, that's been the only use.
Are you doing this full time by your LLM?
At this point, yeah. Yep.
What were you doing before?
So that's before I was actually it's interesting. I consider myself for a person. I was writing about a professional. I actually basically was working as I built an app, like a local app for the town that I live in. It was for a taxi dispatch. So that was kind of what occupied my professional life before this. But for years, like I've had a pretty good amount of experience. I hadn't actually done the crypto stuff for years, and this kind of pulled me back into it. So that was interesting because somebody made this coin, saw my work, and then assigned me the creator fees for it. So I was like, hey, like I've put a lot of work into this, and it could be a startup. It could be something really meaningful. So I went ahead and started. But in the past, like if you go back to 2014, I helped found a Bitcoin center in New York City. 2020, I was involved with Blockchain Center in Miami. We founded that, which was a spiritual successor to the Bitcoin Center. And the years, and the stuff I was recently doing, it was kind of came as a product of that, but it was just stuck. So
Nice. Wow. Oh, so it's not even you who launched the coin. Someone launched the coin for you and then assigned you the creator fees.
yeah,
That's
and
that.
then I had to spend
Is that what
3
like
months.
brought you to launch because you didn't decided to launch on Pump.fun then? Did you trade on Pump.fun before or not even? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
I know, like a while back. Yeah, I had like messed with it, but I was like, hey, this is like, I mean, hey, and not to say anything bad about it, but I just chose not to continue. Yeah.
Okay.
But
And then how was it that like how much did you make with the fees?
the fees have been pretty good to me over the past couple months. So I mean, you have to realize, like, I mean, the fees are probably in the 6-figure range, for this, and
Yeah.
that's been a lot of that between going out and locking in some of the intellectual property for this stuff, because that's been a big thing for me, because it's like, okay, like, I try to say this really nice, but it makes, like, when somebody comes up with something like this, like a small inventor, and doesn't have trillions of dollars to just pour into this stuff, and then you go out and you try to, like, try to explain it to people, and there's always that, like, nuance with new technology. But I've seen some. I had to be very careful, choose my words very carefully. But I've seen some stuff out there. There are some larger folks with similar endeavors, and obviously, I don't think it's one thing or the other. Like I couldn't point fingers, but I do feel like this is something that's like, hey, somebody with billions and billions of dollars is gonna try to steal this, and that's not what this is. So,
Mm.
um, I put a lot. I was able to thankfully put a lot of that money back into securing the intellectual property, the domain name. That was part of our kind of initial thing. Was the BioLLM.com. That was like 15 grand. Because the AI domains are crazy. So we bought that. Probably a good chunk went into patent, and then good chunk has gone into compute. So for training this, and obviously that includes the biological compute on Cortical Labs. We commandeered two of those devices in the cloud, for a 6 month period. Not cheap, not to say like that people shouldn't go out and try it if they have the money and they want to mess around, but not cheap. And yeah, it's thankfully, some left over. Like I didn't have air conditioning, and I was able to get myself air conditioning for the first time in like 4 years. But hey, gotta love it. So
That's cool. Wow.
yep.
That's kind of a crazy story. And what's your end goal with this?
So my angle with this is to create the best product. We have a really really cool partnership that we're kind of coming up. I don't want to like. I guess I don't know when this will be released, but we'll probably be out the door with that next week,
Yeah.
anyways. But yeah, we're coordinating a really cool partnership, and the product that ends up getting released as a result of this is it's because what's on the website right now like is not what I have kind of held back for this thing, but I can't say on the product yet, but it'll be released next week, and I'm not sure like when you're putting this out, but
Probably in about a
we
week.
have in about a week, so it's perfect. I guess I'll just say it. So we actually have a partnership, and I was actually like inspired by because I saw another project do this, but we already used their stuff, like because I had used some of their quantum stuff for like a long time. I thought it was cool, and they had like a really generous free tier. Um, and I saw it was the project 3WS. They had like this IBM partnership thing, and it's I was like, okay, like shoot, like I try to get that myself, because it's like I use so much, I'm paying them already, and so I went and I started getting in touch with them and everything, and I'm like, wow, this is like a really good fit for us. We can, I can do something with this, and it actually ended up saving me a bunch of money too, because it was like, again, really generous free tier, on some of their products. But yeah, we're doing that, and hopefully by the time this releases, that's out the door and everything. But along with the products, because the product is like what I have to keep secret. I don't have to keep that secret because it's like it's already like, hey, you go and sign up for this thing, and get on the phone with them and tell them, hey, what you do. But yeah, the product is going to be super exciting, and then I can't wait to release it because it'll show kind of what's next.
Yeah. And like, how many people are working on this with you?
Me,
You and like 50
so that
AI agents.
yeah, 50 AI agents. Yeah, you could say that. So this was basically it's just me, and I've been able to kind of like cut through the fog and build this, and obviously divert
That's
myself
impressive.
from a lot of other things I was doing. So
That's really impressive. And actually, like, let me know, like, how do you work? Is because to build something like that, like, which AI model do you use? Like, how do you work on this? Like, because it feels like
good
I
question.
haven't seen any product like that. So
Yeah, so what I do is I basically, I'm ping ponging between. It's usually Codex and Claude Code. I don't pick sides. I just, if something came along tomorrow from another lab and it was benchmarking higher, I would use that. But yeah, mixed experiences with Claude recently, but that's back and forth. And then one of the things that's really interesting is when you're working on something that's new like this, these models, all they have to go off of is old information, and everyone's
yes,
always thinking like, they're thinking like AI is going to solve everything. And it's like, well, it's going to solve everything until you've worked on something that hasn't been far from perfect. I mean, that's taken elbow grease. And to push the needle on it, I've definitely seen results from the biological side of things, and that also is completely new. So it's like I was probably one of the first 5 people to have my hands on that in the public from the Cortical Cloud product, and that put me in an odd position where it's like, okay, like I get in here with AI, it does not understand any of it. I will say that with strong confidence. To this day, it doesn't matter mythos or whatever. Like these guys are, I don't want to say like they're full of shit, but it's like they're full of shit. Like, it's like
I don't want
the
to say
same
it,
the
but
mythos. Yeah, it's like I mean, it's not to knock the products or anything. They're really great and they've done so much for me and so much for other people, but it's like they're good at doing things that have already been done. And that was that's been a really big deal because when you get in under the hood and you're using a new platform and a new substrate of like biological intelligence on a chip and nobody's done it before, the AI, one, it does not pick up on things very well. It doesn't understand it, and you still really do need to know how to code. Like you have to be able to open up the actual code and see, you know, where did the AI, I hate using the word lie, but miscode something or do something wrong, and then that ends up, it ends up messing up the end result. So, like one of the big things has been a quality of these neurons called like cytotoxicity. So if you overstimulate them or you stimulate them too high for an extended period of time, even like, you have to be very careful and play it by ear, you end up more or less kind of killing off a lot of activity in the culture. And, you know, um, there's been different experiences I've had there, and it's very, it's not uniform. So it's not like just looking at code documentation and saying, hey, okay, this is how we do it. There's one way to do it, and a little different. So, but they'll overcome it. I'm gonna overcome it, with the neurons. I'm gonna overcome that with biology and neurons and understand to a granular level, what's going on because it can be done.
interesting. Yeah, I mean, it is. So, how do you manage to work with AI when AI doesn't know those new things?
Well, what you have to do is you have to put together, and this is really what necessitated the whole approach of BioLLM was, okay, you have an AI product that is a frontier model. It could be Mythos, it could be the best Claude, the best GPT, and it doesn't fundamentally understand the task or, how to accomplish something on this platform. That's what necessitated BioLLM is basically, okay, training out a model of how we know these neurons work 99 times out of 100, and really being able to accumulate hard data from all those sessions, and ultimately come with a mod tuned to actually deal with this type of thing, actually understand it, and then beyond that, digging deeper into publicly available data that's able to assist in that discovery. One of the most meaningful data sets for us has been the BrainGate data was very meaningful to us. There's some fMRI data out there that was very meaningful to us, and it's just all of those things kind of coming together, and putting us in a position where it's like, hey, we train a model that does understand it, but when you're working with it, it's like you do have to make a small experiment, understand that experiment very well, and it could be, as simple as just, hey, training a machine learning classifier, looking at various ways to, various patterns to stimulate, uh, time frames that you can stimulate. Just there's a lot of different angles to it, and I've always tried to be really, really kind of open, about the a lot of these discoveries and everything. Although I am very, I'm adamant on some of the stuff that I've come up with, the intellectual property side of things. But I still I feel that it's like, hey, the reason I do any of this is, I remember there was a point where Tesla, they basically open sourced their patents because they were so far ahead of everybody, and they still are with electric cars. They're very far ahead. And they were able to just do that and say, hey, here you go. Like, we'd rather have the world on board to electric vehicles and, make that transition or whatever. So we're going to just open source all our patents. And then, they didn't, they didn't use it to kind of to gatekeep or anything. And, that's, like, hey, I wouldn't commit to anything today, because it's a dog eat dog world. But, my ultimate vision for this technology is to create something that's more accessible than less accessible, to make it, something that can reach more people and reach them as effectively as possible.
If you make a billion, you release the patents, right?
I need a little bit more than that, inflation.
Oh my God. A trillion.
Infinity. No, I'm dead serious, man. Infinity, dude. The biggest tiger in the jungle. That tiger's got to eat.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is, like, nonetheless, but yeah, like, my goal is, like, when I get to a point where it's like, hey, I feel like that it's catching wind and everything and people are benefiting from it, and that there's obviously, hey, a self-sustaining a business model, then it becomes more free-flowing for me. It's like I'm very, very much like, humanity needs this technology very, very bad. So.
And what's your next step? Like, what do you need now? Is it funding? Is it like, what do you need? Like, are you going to be able to just work on this by yourself, or like, what's the next step?
Yeah, so I mean, we've obviously been able to do a lot, considering just where the AI stuff is at, and then considering where where I've been able to get it so far. But the funding would be obviously nice. It would be obviously a very nice and a very positive development and everything, and I would love to work with anybody that came along with the right offer there. But I would say our goal is revenue. I think a lot of people, they get out there and they do like the funding, fund this or whatever, this startup and stuff. And the United States is just it's a furnace for VC capital. I mean, I don't know, like, I think that they think it's like a tax write-off or something. I don't know, but I'm focused on revenue. I'm focused on, we have a product coming in the next week, and it's going to, I think it's going to be meaningful to anybody that would buy this device and everything. And we're repositioning, like, I'll just say that because it's like, I can't say it right now, but we're going to reposition, some of that stuff that I just showed you to be, to feed more of a different style product for power users. And again, this is like, it's again, we're integrating that same technology to do and to be most effective doing. But yeah, that's the super fun thing there, is that, we've kind of got something where I think I just put it out there, and it's going to be really along the lines of just like, hey, let's just get to revenue. And I would rather that be the case than take funding and have somebody be unhappy, or take, funding from, a manipulative investor or something like that. Not to say anything bad about that community. I think that there's a bunch of startups that work out, but it's like, I think revenue is more important.
Yeah. One thing crypto rewards you for is to be early. And there is a new decentralized exchange gaining attention because it's built by one of the biggest exchange you ever know. And if you did a little bit of research, you know that what's happening with those decentralized exchanges, when they launch a token, the people that were trading on it early usually have really good results. So TXFlow is one like that. And it's getting more and more volume, but now you can be early with the code TXHandsome. I will put the link in the description. Otherwise, you have to type that code, and then you would get 5% off your trading fees. And also, now it's closed. So if you don't have an invitation code, you can't join in. And that's why I really invite you to check that. I'm not going to show everything, but for now, you can trade everything like you would on a normal decentralized exchange. But being early might be one of the best things you can do to yourself. So I'm going to start farming points on it. If you want to join me on that, same as when I talked about Hyperliquid back then, maybe you should try it too. And back to the interview. And how was it actually to be part of a crypto movement, to have a crypto associated to you with the fees and everything, like crypto community? How was it?
Stressful, but rewarding. There's like obviously stressful element. I think we have a lot of like really vocal supporters and everything, and that's the only thing that's kept me going. But at the same time, I'd say that like there's good stress and there's bad stress in the world, but it's like, hey, it's it's been a good stress, and I love the conversations I have with people, the accountability on the product too. If somebody goes out and they use it, because the main focus of the product, I mean, I would bring up the page, but I already did that. But the main focus of the product initially was like showing the digital twin and all the neural regions. But just having people to kind of like hold me accountable and make the product better has been super awesome. Wouldn't trade it for the world. And then also just the exposure that it's gotten us, the ability to build a brand on X that people are excited about. Because I've seen plenty of startups over the years that they raise all sorts of money, and they don't even have a product. And it's like, at least we're out there where it's like I'm I'm careful about what I say and everything, because it's like obviously there's an intellectual property side that lives in a kind of the black box for this, but it's like, hey, I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna build this in public to the best ability that I can and build the best product that I can. And that's just it's such a rewarding experience. I love the community. So
How was the Pump.fun side? Like, did Pump.fun like reach out to you? Did they try to help or anything?
like during the ACE round and everything, I did, because that's actually something I've neglected to kind of go over. But yeah, we did raise 10% of our entire supply into this ACE round, the community safe. So we did that. And that really is a test of community right there. Like, to show people are that committed to take, basically to take equity in the, the BioLLM as it stands out there. That's incredible. The folks over at Pump.fun, they were super helpful. They helped me kind of get all my ducks in a row to be able to do that and make it happen. And eternally grateful. So that's a good bunch over there. You got a lot of good guys. So
Nice. That's
yep.
pretty cool. So you say you're gonna have a partnership coming in, then you're gonna have a product coming in, and that's just in the next 2 weeks, basically.
Yeah, in basically
what can we
the next
expect
week,
in the next 3 months? Next 3 months, next
next
6 months, next
next 6 months,
5 years.
okay, yeah, we'll give it a little breakdown then. So in the next 6 months, I think this product that I'm looking at right now, because I'm looking at it, I had it open in a different window. I think this is going to be the next big wave for, like, and I suppose I could say this for people in techie folks, people that are very specific about what they want out of technology and everything. I think we've got the product for you, and I think that we're going to deliver something that's going to be very, very competitive in the AI space. I think it's going to get a lot of people excited. I think it's going to get potentially a lot of investors excited. But I really do push this to. I'm kind of at the point where it's like, I love the community and everything, but it's like, if you're out there, you see this or whatever, go smash the chart, like put it on the chart, like, you want a piece of it, put it on the chart, that case round, and that's what I could see us doing again is, we get this token to a higher level, we do another ACE round, and we kind of make, we see where we can get with, funneling, traditional VC over to the blockchain stuff, over to the Pump.fun style type thing, because my focus is revenue and scaling and everything, and I think that that's the barometer for a lot of our initial success, but it will continue to be the barometer for a lot of our success in 6 to 12 months. In 5 years, you can never say where we're going to be at. That's really tough to say, but glasses, I would say that if you look on any pairs of glasses, putting kind of using the arm of the glasses to, kind of touch the side because you can get some signal from, like an EEG style device there. Um, there's also, let me think, those, other devices that'll come out and be innovative in this space. And through those hardware advancements really allow us to do something incredible. Also robotics, robotics is probably going to be a very big one, having somebody be able to control a robot remotely, because I think that's preferable in space. If we're in space by then, if we're going to Mars, I don't know, probably a preferable experience.
Yeah, I mean that would be crazy from planet Earth to Mars just by thing. That'd be crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy way to do it. That's
sure.
that's really impressive. I'm looking forward to see what you're gonna put out in the next few weeks, because like that could change a lot. Like now, okay. I mean, it's good if you want to muscle your forehead to all the time, but it's the next steps, I guess, that's gonna be like the most breakthrough. Like for now, like I guess, like, yeah, it's gonna be esoteric people who really dig in and be like, okay, there's something, because as you said, it's like the first computer when they first had the mouse, like there was not even a proper interface. It was just few things. But you like get to think like
Yep.
that's the first step that is needed for what's next. And then I mean the curve of improvement is going faster and faster now. So it's gonna be definitely
Oh yeah.
interesting to monitor.
And that's the thing is, definitely the curve and the rate that they happening is just incredible. So there's no doubt in my mind that better hardware is coming, but also, our ability to create more advanced software to serve that and, interpret brain signals more accurately, without the need of a medical device, and, allow super fast typing, super fast.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Garrett, for your time today and this demo. It was really interesting for me because I had a lot of friends who were telling me, "Yeah, bro, you gotta check this project. You gotta dig in." I was like, okay. And then the best ways to do an interview, I guess.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I'm like, again, really glad it was
Really, that put us in.
yep.
Where should people
Yep.
follow you? BioLLM on Twitter.
.com, we're .com and at BioLLM underscore, because X say they wanted 30 grand for at BioLLM. So
Oh my God. It's
they
never
wanted
enough.
more than twice the .com. That's what they
Yeah.
want to handle. I'm not saying anything bad about them, but like, guys, come on. But
All right, man.
that's
See
the
you
best
next
way to get
time.
at me. And yep.